All right, let's talk about something that, we all deal with, breaking bad habits. But here's the thing. We're going to throw out that old advice about just trying harder. Instead, we're going to dig into a much smarter, science-backed way to do this, one that doesn't depend on you having superhuman willpower. So let's just jump right in.
Does this sound familiar? You're stuck in that loop, telling yourself, okay, this is it, never again, only to find yourself right back at square one a few days or, heck, even a few hours later. It is so frustrating, right? It can make you feel like you're the one who's failing. But what if I told you the problem isn't you? It's the strategy you've been using. And this is the big idea we're going to unpack today. We've all been taught that success is all about gritting your teeth and having more self-discipline. But what if that's just not true? What researchers are finding is that the people who are best at this stuff don't necessarily have more willpower. They're just smarter about designing their lives, so they need less of it. Honestly, relying on willpower is like trying to hold back a flood with your bare hands. It's a resource that just runs out.
So, okay, if it's not about willpower, then what's really going on? Well, to get that, we've got to look under the hood at the machine that's running the show, your brain. The real reason habits are so incredibly hard to break has everything to do with how our brains are wired to be, well, kind of lazy, but in a super efficient way.
Take a look at this number, 43%. So what is that? According to some pretty solid research, that is the percentage of your daily actions that you do completely on autopilot. Just think about that for a second. Almost half of everything you do today, it's not a conscious choice. It's just a habit, a script your brain runs automatically.
So how does this autopilot even work? Well, it all comes down to something called the habit loop. It's a really simple but powerful three-step process. First, you've got the cue. That's the trigger that tells your brain, hey, time to run that program. Then comes the routine, which is the behavior, the habit itself. And finally, you get the reward, that little hit of something good that tells your brain, yeah, that was great, let's remember to do that again. Every single habit you have, good or bad, follows this exact loop.
So you see, what's really happening here is a battle between two different parts of your brain. You have your conscious brain, the part that's slow, deliberate, and makes the decision, I really need to stop doing this. But it's going up against your autopilot brain, specifically a deep part called the basal ganglia, which is lightning fast, super efficient, and has been running this habit on a loop for maybe years. It's not a fair fight at all, which is why just trying harder is a losing strategy. We need a better game plan.
Okay, so that's the why habits are so sticky. Now let's get to the good stuff, the how. How do we actually change them? Instead of trying to fight our brain's programming head-on, we're going to get clever and work with it. We're essentially going to hijack that habit loop for our own purposes. Let's get into the strategic toolkit that shows you how.
And here's our roadmap. It's a simple four-step framework. First, we identify the triggers. Second, we redesign our environment. Third, and this one's a game changer, we replace the habit, we don't just try to erase it. And fourth, we build in some accountability. Let's break these down.
Step 1. You have to become a habit detective. Seriously, this is half the battle. Your bad habit doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Something is triggering it. Is it an emotion, like feeling stressed or bored? Is it a time of day, like that 3 p.m. energy crash? Maybe it's a place, a person, or something you just finished doing. For the next week, every time you feel the urge, just pause and write down what was going on. This is you gathering the clues you need to crack the case.
Okay, step 2 is where we stop trying to be heroes and start being architects. Redesign your world. Look, your brain is always going to take the path of least resistance. It's just how we're built. So use that to your advantage. You want to add friction to your bad habits and remove friction from the good ones. If you spend too much time on social media, delete the apps from your phone. Make it a pain to log in. On the flip side, if you want to start running in the morning, put your running shoes and clothes right next to your bed. You want to make the good choice the lazy choice. Now for step 3, and this one is so powerful. Replace, don't just erase. Trying to quit a habit cold turkey often creates a vacuum. Your brain is still screaming for that reward it used to get. The secret is to plug a new routine into the old loop. Ask yourself, what was I really getting from this habit? If you snack on junk food when you're stressed, the reward you're seeking is probably comfort or distraction. So what's a better routine that gives you a similar reward? Maybe a quick 5-minute walk outside. You're giving your brain a better option, not just leaving it hanging.
And finally, step 4, build in accountability. It is way too easy to let yourself off the hook when nobody else knows what you're trying to do. So, tell someone, a friend you trust, a partner, anyone who can support you.
Just knowing someone might ask you about it adds this powerful social layer. You can even create some real stakes, like you owe your friend $20 if you skip the gym. And don't forget to track your progress. Seeing a streak of wins, no matter how small, is incredibly motivating.
All right, before we wrap up, we have to talk about something that's absolutely crucial on this journey. Because let's be real, this is not a perfect straight line to success. Expecting it to be is a trap. So we need a plan for when you mess up.
I really want you to let this sink in. Slipping up does not mean you failed. So many of us have an all-or-nothing mindset. We make one mistake and we think, well, that's it, I've blown it, and we just give up entirely. But a slip-up isn't a failure. It's just data. It's a clue. It tells you, okay, that trigger was stronger than I thought, or I need to adjust my replacement habit. It's just part of the process.
And that leads directly to this, which might be the most important mindset shift of all. You have to be kind to yourself. Beating yourself up after a mistake just starts this downward spiral of guilt and shame, which, ironically, often triggers the very habit you're trying to break. The much more effective approach is self-compassion. Acknowledge it happened, learn from it, and get right back on track, without the self-blame. Kindness is the fuel for long-term change, not punishment. So let's pull all of this together. Breaking a bad habit isn't some quick fix or a 30-day challenge. It's about fundamentally rewiring the way your brain works. It's about playing the long game and building a more intentional life, one small choice at a time.
Now, you've probably heard that myth that it takes 21 days to form a new habit, right? Well, the actual research says it's closer to an average of 66 days. And that's just the average. For some people and some habits, it can take way longer. So what's the takeaway? Be patient with yourself. This isn't a sprint. Consistency over time is so much more important than being perfect from day one. So I'm going to leave you with this final question to think about. Instead of starting with, how do I stop this bad habit? Try asking a different question. What is the real underlying need this habit is trying to meet for me? And once you have that answer, ask yourself this: what positive habit could I build that would meet that exact same need? Because finding the answer to that question, that's where your real, lasting transformation actually begins.